Okay, so we all know what's being discussed out there today, the drive-by media and so forth. And rather than join the fray and try to crack jokes about it and get in on it, because everybody else is doing that, I want to look at the practical result of this. And I want to start at this from let's go back a couple of days when Trump had that meeting in the White House that was televised. And how many of you thought you were witnessing the beginning of a sellout? Come on, be honest. How many of you got worried that Trump was getting ready to make a deal with the Democrats? Snerdley's raising his hand in there. I know a lot of people on our side were very worried. You know, intelligence guided by experience. We are used to being sold out by people we elect. And Trump's been under intense pressure and criticism for 3 years. And we've all heard that Trump wants to be loved and gotten along with by everybody. And so that looked like to a lot of people he was getting ready to cave, because whatever idea the Democrats put forward, he said, yeah, we could do that. Yeah, that sounds good. You know, Dianne Feinstein, I want a clean DACA bill, clean Dreamer bill. Oh, yeah, we could do that. And Kevin McCarthy, Republican leader in the House, no, Mr. President, that deal doesn't come with any security. So people thought, oh, my gosh, he doesn't know what he's doing. Once again, Trump doesn't know what he's doing, when in fact, Donald Trump knows exactly what he's doing. Donald Trump knows precisely what he's doing. I guarantee you the Democrats walked out of that meeting at the White House that was televised salivating. I guarantee you they walked out of there thinking that they were on the verge of getting a deal on two things: the Dreamers, the DACA kids, and comprehensive immigration reform. And lo and behold, they show up at the White House yesterday with their proposal for a new DACA deal, and it is the worst thing in the world. It is absolutely abhorrent. It is nothing that you or anybody with common sense would support. And what did Donald Trump do? He blew the whole thing up with one question. With one question, he blew it up. And you know what the question was? Forget the words used. The question was, why do you people on the Democrat side want to continue to bring people to this country that are not going to benefit this country? Why instead do you not want to bring the best and brightest of the world to this country? Why is it that you think that we need to bring people to this country who are incapable of helping themselves? And of course, we know the answer, because Jennifer Palmieri of the Center for American Progress let the cat out of the bag earlier this week by admitting something that we all knew. And that is that the Democrats' version of immigration is all about securing additional votes. She let the cat out of the bag, and that's what they were going up doing, and Trump knows it. That leaked memo from Jennifer Palmieri, that DACA was a key to the Democrats getting power back through elections. They were feeling empowered after that meeting. They thought they had Trump at a weakened moment, and they show up and they present this to him. And his reaction, forget the word that he used or is alleged to have used, or the terms or what have you. You can have your thought on that or not. But his question to them was essentially, why in the world do you look at this issue as something that is not helpful to this country? It's only helpful to you. And so the whole DACA deal is blown sky high now, which is a good thing. And the whole idea that we're going to get comprehensive immigration reform someday soon, meaning amnesty for everybody, is blown to smithereens now, which is a good thing. Why is it that the Democrats want countries, let me rephrase it. Why is it the Democrats want and make the case for illegal immigration from impoverished countries? Do they not say, by virtue of the fact we need to let them here, and do they not say by virtue of we can't deport them, Are they not saying that their countries of origin are not worth going back to? The Democrats do not want to deport them back to their original countries. Why? They're war-torn. They are in strife. They are poverty-racked. They are hellholes. They are places of tyranny and oppression. The Democrats do not want to deport them, they say, because they're going back to absolute horrible places. Trump said, why do you want them in the first place? And then he threw in, why not people from Norway? Well, of course, that caused another conniption fit, because then the Democrats in the rooms, aha, he's a racist, he's a pig, he's a racist, we knew it. And now they can't stop talking about it. And the thing, I got to say, they offend me far more than Donald Trump does. These people in the media are a bunch of the biggest phony balonies on this planet, acting like they don't talk this way. They think this way about Mississippi. They think this way about the American South. They think this way about flyover country. We learned yesterday that a bunch of engineers at Twitter are coming up with 5,000 keywords to identify rednecks, which is, of course, not a complimentary term for people who live in the South in this country. But this moral preening by all these people in the media, like they've never thought that word, they've never used that word, they would never utter that word. That's what galls me. I can't stand this phony supremacy and superiority that these people project, as though anybody who does think or talk that way is somehow subhuman, a reprobate, or other things. The bottom line here is that the President of the United States was presented with an absolute rotten deal. He may have thought, by the way, and I'm just surmising, he may have thought that after that meeting that he was going to get a modicum of cooperation. And then he sees what they bring to him, which I will detail in a minute. But what they brought to him doesn't change anything. What they brought to him is nothing other than a political benefit for themselves, as leaked by Jennifer Palmieri, that DACA and the Dreamer kids are all about securing future voters for the Democrat Party. So maybe Trump's thinking that after the meeting we're going to get some sort of compromise that they can work with, and they show up and they present him an absolute disaster of a bill. And being the regular guy he is, why in the world do you continue to want to flood this country with people who are not going to benefit the country? Immigration, every American policy we have is supposed to be rooted in improving our country. Why do the Democrats insist on an immigration system that ends up being a burden to this country? That's not what it's supposed to be. And Trump looked at what they proposed and instinctively understood that this is rotten, that this is not anywhere near making America great again. Do the Democrats believe that only people in poverty, that only people from war-torn or tyrannical regimes, are they the only people that should be given preferential treatment to come to the United States? Is it because they're the oppressed? Remember, the Democrats want these people as voters. The Democrats need a permanent underclass. Donald Trump is looking at all of this, every bit of his agenda, as aimed at making America great again, not just a slogan with him. So when you strip away all the wording and all of the histrionics and this overblown, offended, oh my God, reaction to what he said, when you look at the substance, there's a column here by Scott Greer at the Daily Caller, and the headline is right on the money. Trump blows up the immigration debate with just one question. Trump may have just nuked negotiations on an immigration deal with one question. Why are we having all these people from bleep, bleep countries come here? This was a Thursday meeting, congressional leaders making a deal to give legalization to the so-called Dreamers, who are scheduled to be deported. In March, Trump made the comments in response to a proposal to prevent the deportation of thousands of foreign nationals from Haiti, El Salvador, and African countries who are dwelling in the United States on temporary protected status since 2001. 18 years of temporary status. They're about to be sent back home. The Democrats are in a panic over this. And these very refugees, these very people from Haiti, from Africa, from El Salvador, they're telling us they can't go back to their countries because their countries are too poor. Their countries are too dangerous. There's just too many drugs. There's too much violence. In other words, because their countries are hellholes. So naturally, the comment irritates lawmakers, upsets them. And now the Democrats probably not going to want to be seen making a deal with the president who just said some of their voters come from hellhole countries. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't want to make a deal with these people. I want to defeat these people. I don't want to compromise with these people because these people are simply looking for ways to bloat the federal voter registration rolls in various states. And when you want to have some evidence of this, Dick Durbin was in the meeting. Dick Durbin's back in Chicago. He was interviewed on TV today, and he was confirming that Trump said what he said. Trump denied using that exact language. There's some people who are saying that it wasn't holes, it was houses that Trump said. But regardless, it doesn't matter. Dick Durbin's out there. I was there. I heard it. I was appalled. I was outraged. I was this. I was that. This is the guy who was accusing members of the U.S. military of being like Pol Pot and Hitler. And if you're curious about that, stand by. The audio soundbite's coming up. But listen to this. Grab audio soundbite number 5. Just listen to this.
Came to the issue of, quote, chain migration. I said to the president, do you realize how painful that term is to so many people? African Americans believe that they migrated to America in chains. And when you speak about chain migration, it hurts them personally. And he said, oh, that's a good line.
Are you kidding?
And then when I talked to him about the impact this has on family unification in a nation that values families with the flag as the most important symbols of our future.
If you think these people aren't a bunch of phony, baloney,
it was
plastic
a heartbreaking
banana,
moment.
good-time rock and rollers. Chain migration is impermissible to use because it reminds Africans of how they arrived here as slaves. It has never reminded. Chain migration is a specific term that specifically and correctly identifies how one illegal immigrant arriving can create a chain of migration for 4 or 5 or more others. It is an official term. It has never been associated with Africans arriving as slaves. And here's Dick Durbin. You think Dick Durbin really is offended by any words such as that which Trump supposedly? You think these guys are that offended by it? You think these drive-bys are really offended by it? They're not. This is nothing more than political opportunism. Now, the thing that really irritates them, too, CNN had a story just moments ago that Trump is reveling in the controversy here, that he loves it. And that's irritated him. And then Trump signed a proclamation today, 50th anniversary of Martin Luther King Day. That burned him up because members of the King family, civil rights leaders are there. And they all were thanking Trump for everything he's doing to honor Martin Luther King. And there wasn't one word of criticism from any of the African Americans in the Oval Office about Trump's supposed comments. And so the meeting ends. And these reporters are shouting at Trump, what about bleep hole? What about bleep hole? What about bleep? In the august setting where a 50th anniversary proclamation honoring Martin Luther King was signed by President Trump. These people, once again, over the top, demonstrating they haven't learned a single thing about Donald Trump. And you should take solace in the fact I told you he wasn't going to cave. I told you he was not going to cave and do a deal with these people. Let me take a brief time out. Sit tight, my friends. As you can tell, we are wired and ready to go, so hang on. No, I do not believe that this media, which is in the midst of another major meltdown, I do not believe that they are offended at all with what Trump said. I think all it is to them, and the reason they're melting down, the reason they can't contain themselves is to them, it's just the latest opportunity to get rid of him. They live, remember, folks, do not doubt me on this, the media gets up every day, hoping, praying, dreaming, thinking that day something is going to surface or happen that will end up being the silver bullet that gets rid of Donald Trump. Every day. And they've been getting up every day for over a year since Trump won the election, hoping. This is just the latest in their hopes and dreams that something will happen they can use to get rid of Trump. So now CNN and MSNBC and all of these revered Tiffany networks are using a word constantly that is certainly improper under anybody's broadcast standards. It is they who are the phonies here. The big picture today, and I think the media gets this, and I think it's one of the reasons they're ticked off. Donald Trump blew up a Democrat dream of amnesty for dreamers with one question, with one word. He blew it sky high, and with that question, he refocused the nation's look at immigration, legal and otherwise. And I want to remind you, this is me from Tuesday, 3 days ago, on this program. If you're wary that Trump is going to cave, I don't see it. He knows this is what got him elected. And not only that, he believes this. He understands this. Well, maybe he'd understand it ideologically, who knows, but he understands that open borders and a never-ending parade of illegal immigrants does nothing to build the national economy or the American culture. And it's key to understand what he meant by that question. Why do you people want to continue to import people that are going to end up placing a burden on our population? Why, if we're going to have an immigration policy, why don't we seek the best? Why do you people purposely want to go out and bring people in who are going to end up being a burden? Now, you can define that as not learning English, not being able to have a job, being on the social safety welfare net, however you want to define it, but that's what he means, because that's precisely what the Democrats want to do. That's exactly what they want to do, because they're not humanitarian. This is not about compassion. This is not about love and a soft spot for people from these horrible places and wanting to give them a better life. This is about registering a bunch of future Democrat voters that are never going to be able to fend or provide for themselves. This is about flooding this country with people who are going to be forever dependent on a government run by Democrats. That's all it is to them. That's why this phony sanctimony over being offended by the use of a word that they disagree with is unpresidential. I mean, it wasn't unpresidential what Bill Clinton was doing in the Oval Office. No. They all tried to cover that up. And they all tried to say that was nobody's business. And, of course, when Barack Obama is lying to his teeth the American people about their health care plans and systems, and when he's lying to the American people about not wanting to make sure the Iranians get nuclear weapons, look, there's a lot of stuff that has gone on in this country that should have offended the drive-by media if they are this group that cares so deeply about their country and America's people. But that's not what they care about. Now, I want to do a little test. I want to go back to that fateful day in 2015, June the 16th. Trump Tower, Donald Trump, and the future First Lady Melania Trump are descending the giant escalator. where Trump will announce his candidacy for the presidency of the United States.
They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people. But I speak to border guards, and they tell us what we're getting. And it only makes common sense. It only makes common sense. They're sending us not the right people. It's coming from more than Mexico. It's coming from all over South and Latin America, and it's coming probably from the Middle East. But we don't know, because we have no protection and we have no competence. We don't know what's happening.
You tell me what's changed from that day to this week. Not a single thing. And what is this? This is about protecting the United States. This is about an immigration policy that does not allow burdens, criminals, rapists, thugs, what have you. And it's not rooted in race, and it's not rooted in gender. It's rooted in behavior. It's rooted in American civilization and citizenship and wanting to assimilate. Trump hasn't changed an iota. For those of you who were worried that he was on the verge of caving, and so he blows up this meeting yesterday with a question, why do you continue to want the same old thing? What is it about you people that you want the same old thing? Why do you want people brought here who have lots of problems, drugs, crime? Why are you not interested in bringing people who will not be a burden? Very consistent. And, of course, after this announcement on June the 16th, there wasn't a soul who thought he would get elected. They thought those comments right there would doom his candidacy before it even got started. Little did they know how those comments resonated with millions and millions and millions of Americans who understand what Make America Great means. And it doesn't mean race, and it doesn't mean gender, and it doesn't mean sexual orientation, and it doesn't mean anything identity politics related that seems to appeal to the Democrat Party. It's about a culture. It's about an identity. It's about an idea, the American idea, the American ideal. And Trump's confusion over why anybody would actively want to undermine all of that. But he's learning, I am confident. The Democrat Party is willing to undermine whatever if it'll get them back to power and keep them there. The Democrat Party is willing to undermine anything because, never forget, they need a permanent underclass. Do not doubt me. The Democrat Party is threatened by people who learn to take care of themselves, self-reliance. The Democrat Party is threatened by people who learn rugged individualism. The Democrat Party is threatened by people whose economic circumstances improve to the point that they do not need government, first and foremost. That's a threat, but this happens when the U.S. economy is humming. There is a lot of upward mobility, and people leave the lower depths of poverty and start traversing a pathway through the middle class to the upper middle class. And as they leave, the Democrats have to replace them. And that is what illegal immigration has been since 1965, when Ted Kennedy reintroduced the whole concept after 40 years of no immigration from 1921 to 1965. From the Reuters News Wire, Trump slams Senate Dreamer deal, seeks to walk back tough words. President Trump on Friday dismissed a bipartisan Senate immigration plan as a big step backwards, saying it would force the United States to admit people from high-crime countries, digging in on a position critics decried as racist. So you see, if you want to keep bad people out, if you want to keep people who are going to be a burden to the people of America, if you want to keep them out of the country, somehow that's racist. which is the only thing the Democrats have to say. They melt down and they caterwaul and they whine and they moan while Trump stands firmly in the middle of his assured policy positions on this. I'm telling you, it cannot be overstated. Whatever you think of his use of that word, the very fact that he asked the question, why do you want to continue to send people here who are not the best, serves to refocus. In fact, it's not just refocus. It actually brings into focus what the Democrats' true aim and agenda here is. For a lot of people,